I believe that. We're still gonna go buy all the candy though. That's why they like going. So that you could see new things.
Everybody ready?
Yep.
Good evening. The East Hempfield Township Board of Supervisors meeting is called to order. Tonight's meeting has been advertised and will be held in person and online using Zoom call-in information posted on our website. The video and audio is being recorded. Robert's Rules of Order will apply. In order to offer comment, you must be a resident or business owner in the township. Comments must be about the agenda item being discussed and are limited to 3 minutes. If speaking in person, please go to the podium, identify yourself by name and address before speaking, and sign the guest log on the table. If commenting on Zoom, follow the chat procedure. We provide time for public comment on any topic towards the end of the meeting. We will only take action on agenda items. Please join me and rise for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Now for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Shuffle my papers. Okay. The first item on our agenda today is a community interest topic, and we have Samantha Gray and Chad Martin from the Coalition for Sustainable Housing. So for the people in the audience, we've been this year, since we have 3 supervisors who started this year, we have education sessions from our partners in the community to allow the newer supervisors and all the supervisors to learn more about this topic. Yeah, and I'm sorry, before you take off, to set the stage here, 2 years ago, Nate Sturgis from the planning director here and I attended a seminar at the High Properties, the High Industries. They were holding a seminar on affordable housing. And I learned a little bit about it. And in this case, I thought it'd be appropriate that all the supervisors learn about affordable housing, which is a big topic these days. And so in speaking with them, they recommended that we hear from Samantha Gray about sustainable housing. So that's trying to set the stage here. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for the time. We really appreciate the opportunity to be here. Again, my name is Samantha Gray. I am the director of the Coalition for Sustainable Housing, and I'm joined by my co-chair, one of my co-chairs, Chad Martin, from Chestnut Housing. So thank you again for allowing us to be here. Okay, delay on the click, that's all.
Just a little lag.
That's all right. So the Coalition for Sustainable Housing exists because no single municipality or sector can solve Lancaster's housing challenges alone. We're housed by Tenfold, and we are supported by the High Foundation, but the coalition is broader than that. It brings together housing providers, planners, employers, school and nonprofit leaders, and residents who all see different pieces of the same puzzle. We have about 150 members representing over 65 different organizations across the county. And our role is to kind of sit in the middle, to track what's happening locally, to spot where progress is emerging, and to make information available to others. When we connect data, lived experience, and local examples, we help Lancaster County move together, one conversation and one ordinance at a time. So this slide shows basically that the housing challenges show up across the board. We know that we're short on units. We know that renters and homeowners alike are cost burdened. And when we say cost burdened, that means that they're spending more than 30% of their income towards housing. How do I go back? Can I go? Thank you. More than 30% of income on their housing. When we look at East Hempfield specifically, we can see how this plays out locally. So about 18% of homeowners in East Hempfield are cost burdened, and 44% of renters are cost burdened. You have a very low vacancy rate as well. You have a 2% vacancy rate. And so that's important to know because that means there's very little slack in the system. Any kind of shifts in demand can really spike prices quickly. So one of the questions that we get asked often is,
Sorry.
yes.
Question for your previous slide, Lancaster County's down 500 to 1,000 units annually. Is that calculated assuming no one moves in to the county? Like just based off of, I don't know, local birth rates, or like how is that calculated?
That one's not on.
All right, I'll step over here.
You're fine.
I don't know. This is data based on a housing study that EDC, the Economic Development Corporation of Lancaster County, did a couple years ago. I don't know exactly how they arrived at that number there. I know at the time when they put that study together, the big statistic that came out was something like 7,000 to 8,000 units that the market is short immediately, meaning, you know, to meet current demand, we're that number short. So I think there's kind of this kind of perpetually trying to catch up from behind.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thank you for that. And we can find that out too. We can get that information for you. Okay, so we have been asked often what is driving the gap, and it's not just one factor. It's a combination of kind of how our communities are changing and how our systems just aren't quite set up the way that they need to be anymore, at least. And part of it's demand. Our population is changing. We have smaller households. We have more older adults aging in place. We have younger buyers who are waiting longer to purchase homes. In fact, the National Association of Realtors, first-time home buyers in 1980 nationally, this was nationally, in the 80s was 29 years old. In 2024, it was 36 years old. So people are having to wait longer to buy their first homes. And you also know that we have 60 municipalities with roughly 500 zoning districts. So that's a lot of different ordinances that people have to keep track of. And as I mentioned, many of our zoning ordinances and laws were written at a different time when housing needs look different than the way they do today. So we've been going around to different municipalities as part of what we do and talk with folks and try to understand the challenges and provide support. And what we've heard pretty consistently across the municipalities is that there's not a lack of awareness around these issues. Local leaders are thinking about it, and many of them are already taking action. So these are the kind of common things that we've heard as we've come across, and I'm sure some of these will resonate with you all as well. There is a strong desire to preserve what makes each community unique, whether that's farmland, historic character, or a small town feel. That shows up everywhere we go. At the same time, there's a growing mismatch between the housing that exists and what people actually need. That includes, again, our younger residents, our older residents, and our local workers. We know that many places feel built out, but people are starting to look at opportunities around reuse, infill, and village center development rather than large-scale expansion. One of the biggest dynamics that we hear about everywhere we go is the community response. Even when something aligns with a comprehensive plan, public perception and concern about change can shape what moves forward. And we also know that zoning and implementing that can be challenging. While there might be alignment at the plan level, it's harder to translate that into actual projects and approvals. And most importantly, municipalities are not starting from scratch. Many are already making adjustments, taking new approaches, asking for examples, asking for data, and peer learning to help them learn how to move forward. The other thing that I wanted to say is when we talk about zoning and zoning reform, one of two things happen. Either people's eyes glaze over because it's not the most exciting topic, or people kind of panic and imagine these really big buildings, multi-story, 100 units in the middle of a beautiful, pristine farmland. That's not what we are talking about, right? What we are talking about are small-scale housing types that already exist in the county and fit the character of many communities. So that includes things like small apartments over garages, or or a duplex or triplex that actually looks like a single home, or a fourplex that you might see in some of our older boroughs. It can also mean using existing buildings and adding housing in walkable areas like main streets. So this is where the coalition is right now. We are focused on zoning reform. We have a series of zoning reform concepts that we've bucketed into kind of 3 different themes or categories to make that a little more palatable. We can give you the whole list if you'd like. But we're working with municipalities to support practical zoning updates that expand housing options while still fitting local context. So some of these reforms that we are proposing are, first, allowing more housing types by right. So things like accessory dwelling units, small-scale multifamily homes that fit within existing neighborhoods. Second is making it easier to build, especially for smaller projects, by looking at things like parking requirements and the approval processes. And third, by making better use of the land that already is served by infrastructure through infill, adaptive reuse, and updates to village and mixed-use areas. So our role is to support municipalities with tools, examples, and community engagement so these kinds of updates can move forward and work locally. And if you'd like to learn more, you can scan the QR code. We meet every other month downtown in Lancaster on the 4th Friday of every other month, and I can get you that information too, or when you scan that, you can go to our website. So happy to have folks join. You can also sign up to be on the mailing list if you'd like to get more information about the work that we've been doing. So that's my update, and I'm certainly happy to answer any questions.
Quick question. Do you have a counterpart at the state level that you coordinate with?
No, we do that coordination through. So our steering committee holds a lot of folks that are in positions where they're on state boards or going to state meetings. So we coordinate information that way.
Okay. The reason I ask is when there are impediments or issues that arise when you want to tackle existing structures, is most of the red tape, so to speak, at a local township level or a state level?
Good question.
That is a great question, Darren. Let me back up and add another piece to your first question about state level advocacy. There is a great state agency that does housing advocacy at a number of levels called the Housing Alliance of Pennsylvania. They're currently coordinating with an organization called 10,000 Friends of Pennsylvania, which is an advocacy group related to more like land use and planning issues. They're working together on an effort around a number of pieces of legislation having to do with zoning reform and some other things to just create more housing options available in local communities. So we stay in tune with some state level kind of parallel action, but our focus is really on, in the meantime, what can we do locally to advance these kind of efforts? In terms of regulatory red tape, depending on the kind of project someone is pursuing, it can hit like all 3 of those levels. So the place that we're really encouraging conversation at the local level, especially with groups like yours, with supervisors and zoning hearing boards, is around what change can we affect at the local municipal level, and zoning, I think, is a key piece to be looking at there. But there are certainly, if you're doing a housing development, which we do some of those at Chestnut Housing that have state funding connected to them, there are other layers of bureaucracy and regulation connected to those funding sources that impact both, cost, viability, timelines, things like that.
Sure.
And we won't even get into federal level challenges, but there are also federal level challenges.
Sure.
I heard someone once recently talk about housing development where there are like about 100 different avenues where projects can fail and like one narrow pathway where they succeed. So that's true whether you're talking about things that are, subsidized affordable housing or even market rate real estate development. These are,
Sure.
High risk, long-term projects.
Yeah.
But other questions, comments?
So do you all have full-time other jobs and then you work on, working with municipalities through C4SH on the side? Is that how it
Indeed.
works?
That's
Yeah.
right.
So we're thrilled that Samantha is with us. We pay her as best we can for a
That's right.
part-time role to direct our efforts, and the rest of us are doing this as kind of like a side piece. But many of us for whom it has direct impact on our day-to-day work, as it does for what I do at Chestnut Housing. And many of the folks involved are organizations you may think of other nonprofits like Tenfold, Community Basics, HDC Mid-Atlantic, folks like that. Many people on the for-profit side as well. We have for-profit market rate developers who are engaged with our work, as well as like the local the local association of realtors. So it's kind of across the board, folks who are seeing obstacles to creating more housing solutions.
Okay. Is there any, so here's a hard question. Is there any like perception of East Hempfield Township, like you guys, when you meet, say, I wish East Hempfield Township would understand this or something like that?
Do you have an answer?
I have not ever heard that anything.
Oh,
like-
So we're good, huh?
No, but I think when we just encourage folks to really look and see where there are spaces and places. Every municipality we go into, we try to find ways and pathways to find opening some more doors to some affordable housing units, whether that is, again, just through ADUs or through Main Street, apartments over businesses, things like that. But yeah.
You know, the comment I'll add to that is certainly nothing specific to East Hempfield. However, when we look at strategic places where more housing should be created in Lancaster, and that's, again, regardless of income level or housing type, how we just get more solutions on the table for people that meet a variety of household needs and income levels. I'm especially keen for like the first ring of suburban municipalities around Lancaster City. We look at where our urban growth boundaries, and certainly parts of East Hempfield fit in those categories where, you know, when there's access to public transportation, when there's access to employment opportunities, those are the places that, access to adequate infrastructure that can support more housing. I think those are the kinds of places where we're poised in Lancaster County to make a difference on these kind of housing challenges.
Okay, and is it like consistent with the Places 2040 model?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean, we advocate for, you know, if we were all doing the things that Places 2040 and the comprehensive plan calls for, we'd be on a good track.
And it also aligns with the PA state housing plan as well.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
I had a question, but it's gone now. I'm sorry.
All right.
Talking about zoning, how much of an impact does zoning regulations within the township have on affordable housing and creating the type of housing that you've been speaking about?
Yeah, so the way I think about this is, I think the biggest impact that zoning has on the cost of housing is, you know, we have in Lancaster County now, what's a statistic? I just heard this in the State of the County presentation yesterday with the Lancaster Chamber. Something like 70% of residential parcels in Lancaster County, the only thing you're allowed to build by right is a single family detached home. That also happens to be the most expensive type of housing to build. Now, right type of housing for many people, but not for everyone, and certainly not for every income level. So if most of our zoning not only kind of promotes single family detached homes as the primary solution, but only, you know, where that's the only legal solution is to create single family detached homes, you're writing out any number of solutions that could be more affordable for folks, more adaptable, more suitable for smaller household sizes, things like that. So I think we're interested in things like these kind of smaller scale development that Samantha's talking about, of like, if we can have a 3,000 square foot single family home that may have 3 cars parked in the driveway, why can't we have a triplex that can more affordably house 3 households, still has 3 cars parked in the driveway, still is 3,000 square feet, but you may have 3 households who are served in a more affordable sort of situation. I think also allowing multifamily housing in more places, including commercial zones, where, you know, if it's a quality place to have a business, a commercial business or a retail establishment, why is that not also a great place to have apartment style living? So those are the kinds of like tweaks to zoning that we're looking for that just put more options on the table in more places across the county.
Okay, thank you.
Could you elaborate a little bit more on zoning reform? Is that more like aligning each township, cities with the same ordinance or things like that?
Yeah, I think we're probably less interested in uniformity then we are looking at, we have a platform of, I'm sure Samantha can share this with you. We have a document of around like a dozen zoning concepts that we think are more housing friendly concepts they're not necessarily like sample ordinance language. And the goal isn't necessarily to get everyone moving in the same direction with those, but from that kind of menu of 10, 12 solutions, what things may be appropriate for East Hempfield there. And those are things like, in many places in our larger municipalities like yours, where you may only allow a single family detached home, are there more options like you can allow duplexes, triplexes, quadplexes in that same space? Again, concepts like allowing for multifamily housing to be developed anywhere where in commercial zones, so that you're effectively creating mixed use zones. So we're not looking to take on comprehensive zoning reform top to bottom. That would be a great job for other high-paid consultants that you can bring in. But we have a number of targeted, like these are kind of housing-friendly concepts that we want to see more municipalities taking on.
Okay. Any questions from the audience or Zoom? Nate, now. Okay. Sir, if you'd like to stand up at the podium. Yes.
Mike Zuber, 3299 Randy Road. My question is, do you really think one parking space per unit is sufficient? Because most people have 2 or 3 cars. That's it.
That's a fair question. I would say there's a pretty wide variety among households in Lancaster County of how many vehicles folks have. And I think, again, making it more possible for the market to decide how many parking spaces need to be provided per housing unit, rather than kind of dictating that from a township level, saying, there may be some apartment complexes where indeed folks have 2 or 3 cars each, and so you need to provide parking that suit that. And there may be other folks, I mean, I know the residents we serve with our organization, many of them don't have vehicles at all, and yet we have to accommodate parking, off-street parking with every unit of housing we create in Lancaster County right now.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate you coming. I apologize. I didn't recognize you when you were sitting there. I would have come up before the meeting. I apologize.
No worries.
But thank you very much for coming.
To do too. Thanks for your time.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thanks for.
Thank you. The next item is the consent agenda. There's 3 items on the consent agenda, and the consent agenda is normally made up of routine items. Oh, I'm sorry. We have another.
Guest.
Pardon?
You have another guest.
We have another guest. Mr. Bennett is going to talk to us about the Recreation Authority.
Okay. Very good. Well, I just want to give you a little bit of an overview on the Recreation Authority and what are some of our plans for the next year or two. The Recreation Authority was created to improve the overall golf operation, which includes its financial results. Prior to establishing the Recreation Authority, East Hempfield Township subsidized the golf operations by stipends ranging from $100,000 to $300,000 a year. So it was a little bit of a drain on the taxpayers at that point. The Recreation Authority is made up of 7 township residents, all serving staggered 5-year terms. Our primary focus is to add more tenant revenue by developing the properties at or near the golf course. Currently, we've done this by entering long-term leases with 2 business partners. These agreements generate in excess of $135,000 annually to the plus side. And that, along with greens fees and card income, provide 90% of the operating income. The golf operation has been profitable since the inception of the Recreation Authority, and as I said, has provided no subsidies to the golf operation. In early 2023, a building inspection housing the current pro shop and snack bar identified major roof leakage. Subsequent inspections identified other building deficiencies. Initially, we took a look at replacing just the roof, but ultimately we determined that given the age and deteriorating condition of the building, it would be better to build from new. So over the last couple of months, we've been looking at replacing the golf pro shop. And initially, we were looking to build from new. In addition to the new pro shop, some of the other things that we're doing was our building maintenance will eventually be incorporated into the building at Indian Springs Park. It'll move to there. We also need to, as I said, move some utilities, need to be relocated to Church Street for the banquet center. And again, we're going to demolish the barn structure. We started with an architect to design a standalone building, as I said. Initially, the cost estimates were $2.3 million with a modified roof line, lowering the cost to only $2.1 million. From there, we moved to the design group, Korsky Engineering, and they continued with the standalone building initially, but cost was prohibited. We charged Korsky with taking a look at remodeling the snack bar and storage area and creating the pro shop there. They provided a proposal with a cost of $1,179,000, almost half of what we were looking at initially. Improvements, you're going to see improvements at the sales counter and display area, new restrooms. We're going to build in some new offices, new HVAC. We're going to demolish the barn as part of the program, moving the utilities from Stony Battery to Church, installing a fire-rated ceiling, sealing the exterior with drive-it on both exterior floors, and adding a garage door for through access, just a lot of the nits. With incidentals, the total cost is up a little bit, is moving north. It's now $1.4 million, but it's still well below the 2.1 that we were looking at not long ago. The timeline for the project is about 10 months. Because the demolition of the barn will be done after the new pro shop is completed, there will be no interruption in any golf activities at that time. And finally, Raymond James has been hired to review the authority financials and provide some proposal for borrowing. From a borrowing standpoint, we're not sure exactly what we're going to do yet, but we do have a considerable amount of cash available to put towards the project at this point. Be glad to take any questions that anyone might have.
So the responsibility of our board is to approve the plan at some point, and also, do we have any relation to the loan?
Siri's gonna answer.
You-
Well,
They do not say.
we plan to run the township backstops everything we do. Okay, so we want to keep you in the know about, what we're doing. We expect that there's going to be cooperation between the two boards. I mean, we do have people on our board that spend time looking at what's going on. But yeah, we'll bring obviously we'll bring it to the board for a final decision when the time comes, and then we'll also fill you in on the financials of the new pro shop. But as I said, we have a substantial amount of money that we can put towards it already, so it's not as challenging as it was a year ago.
Any questions?
Nope.
Anything from the audience or Zoom? No? All right. Thank you, Mr. Bennett.
You bet.
All right, now, the consent agenda is normally made up of routine items that typically require little review, discussion, or explanation. We have 3 items on the consent agenda. Are there any comments from the board on the consent agenda?
No comments at this point.
And any from the audience? Yes. Yeah, I'll
So
ask
the project
Cindy.
that's currently underway and actually finished, so we're reducing the escrow to 0. It's a developer's escrow for public improvements. It already has been. The project's finished.
All right, do I hear a motion? Get my appropriate paper here. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda items A through C as presented?
So moved.
And do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, motion from Mr. Landis, second from Ms. Abbott. All those in favor, please say
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. The next item is an action item for road paving bid results. And we have a recommendation to award our yearly process for paving.
You want to present or should I? Doesn't matter. Andy?
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
I brought the folder.
Okay. Might as well break you in right.
And for, I'm not sure if everyone in the audience knows Mr. Madonna has retired, and if you haven't been here before, Mr. Gumbrecht has replaced him to talk about the roadmaster.
I prefer Public Works Director.
Okay.
So we had 4 people bid for paving this year. Allen Myers, H&K Group, New Enterprise, Lyman Stone, and Penzi Supply. Penzi Supply came in for the paving in place, sorry. Penzi Supply came in at the lowest at $658,426.68. I've personally dealt with Penzi Supply before on when I was at the DOT, and I talked with Perry. He has dealt with them here, and they said they've always done a pretty good job for us, and I've always seen them perform pretty well. So I recommend Penzi Supply. Any other questions?
I might have a question. I see the streets that we're going to be paving.
Correct.
About how many miles of paving will that be? Any idea?
Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
I can look into that and get the numbers for you.
Awesome, thank you. And then we're going to spend $658,000 this year. Is that up or an increase over last year or last?
That's a decrease.
That's a decrease.
Yeah, last year I believe it was around 1.2.
1.2. So it's all, we've almost cut it in half.
Yes.
Okay,
That's basically due to budget constraints.
of course. Yeah,
And we've been
it's-
spending quite a bit each year. And we're getting to the point now we're not quite caught up, but it's getting there. So having a reduced number this year is not detrimental to the program.
Good decision. Thank you.
Now, it is noted on his report, his recommendation that we are over budget. Our budget number for this year was $600,000 and we're 58,000 over. Could be even higher due to the escalation clauses in the contract concerning the oil. But at the 58,000, I think is something that's doable with our cash balances. And therefore that we maintain recommending that we approve the bid.
Are there any grants are related to this or just all?
This is all tax
Tax.
money, yes. What is being used, though, I will tell you, is liquid fuels, which comes from the state. So that's 500,000 of it. The other 100,000 is coming out of the capital reserve.
Is there a cap on the escalation clauses?
There is a
And the-
cap. Andy, do you know what the cap is on the escalation
The escalation,
clause?
I think it was around 10%, but I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to look into that.
Um, Okay, yeah, prior to the meeting, I mentioned to Andrew about, I think there's probably a lot of interest in the community about, which roads get paved, when will my road get paved next? So that's something we'll be talking about in the future, perhaps having an education session on the plan. But Andrew's been in his job for just a couple months, and we'll give him a chance to get familiar with all the roads and what the plans are. Okay, any comments, additional comments from the board? And anything from the audience or Zoom? All right. Okay, do I hear a motion to award the 2026 paving contract to Pensy Supply for paving in place for $658,000 plus and FOB $50,625?
So moved.
And a
Second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Bennett, second by Mr. Tran. All those in favor, say
Aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. The next item is an action item on Aher Park for provisions for a temporary home run fence on the ball field. Mr. Bennett, would you like to speak to this first, or?
No, let's have the public speak.
Okay.
Mr. Biggs is here on behalf of HYA.
Okay,
Yep, Brian Biggs here, 1039 Hunter's Path. I run our baseball program for HYA. Just a little bit of background about us. We have about over 500 kids in the program right now. That ranges from our T-ball age children up through our 10U, 12U, and 14U travel kids. And when we say travel, we're talking about we play Manheim Township, neighboring school districts from a travel perspective. Over the past couple of years, many of you might have known this or seen this, but we've made a concerted effort to improve all of our ball fields that we use, both in East Hempfield Township and West Hempfield. We've actually built a few new fields starting 2 years ago to keep up with demand. Those were fields at Farmdale Elementary and Roarstown Elementary. Those fields were fully built out, full fencing, home run fence, dugouts, and everything. In addition to that, you may have noticed at Aher Park and all of our fields this year, we had them all recut in terms of infields, new Diamondtex laid and leveled. A lot of it's really to improve the playability of the fields. Prior to that, there were weeds growing everywhere. Fields were bumpy. It just looked really bad. Fencing was dilapidated. So over the past couple of years, we've taken care of almost all of those items. What we are starting to look at here, at least for 14U, our 14U fields, is temporary home run fences. Particularly at Aher Park, a lot goes on outside of the baseball field. There is volleyball, there's pickleball. And right now, when there's a game going on, baseballs can be hit all over the park. In this day and age with technology of bats and how big and strong kids are, we've had balls go to the volleyball courts, go to the pickleball courts. And so what we think a temporary home run fence would do is would really delineate that space. Certainly kids would still hit balls far, right? But we wouldn't have kids running after it, going into other activities taking place within the park here. So we think that, certainly delineating the field with a temporary home run fence would be great, both for that and for the players. And it's age appropriate. At 14U, which is what we have here, those players either, stop playing after this or they move on to high school and play junior varsity baseball. All of those fields have fences. So, it really helps them adapt to the style of baseball that they need to be prepared for, as they go forward. So what we're asking for is a temporary fence. It looks just like this. It's about as nice as one as we can find. We do see these a lot at fields when some teams do travel to tournaments like in Palmyra and other fields. We see and play with these a lot. They are very sturdy, no hazards to injuries or anything like that. They don't fall over if you run into them. It's about as nice a temporary fence as, like I said, as we could find. We would bear the cost of that, to buy it, to install it. and take it down certainly as needed, depending on when activities are taking place here. Yeah, if you have any questions about what it entails, I'm happy to try to address those. And from just in terms of our season length. So our season in the spring goes from March until the end of July. I think ideally that's when we would like to have it up. And again, certainly it could come down as needed as the township requests. We also have fall baseball, but I think we could leave it down for that. I'm not certain what all activities go on here in the fall, but the fall season's not really as competitive and as important in terms of baseball. So I think we'd be looking at this for the spring season. Like I said, March to July, we would take it down, we would store it in our facilities, and then put it back up the following spring.
Okay. Tom, would you like to comment?
We've obviously discussed this before, and this is something that I'm in favor for, and I'm in favor for it basically from a safety standpoint. I'm not all that concerned about a ball hitting someone. I'm more concerned about an outfielder running over a small child that wanders out onto the field. I think that safety is the number one factor here. We've also looked at this and we've determined, at least I think we've determined, that there'll be no impact on the Hark summer programs. A fence will not interfere with the operation of the regular park activities. The HYA under 14 is their top level competitive team. Again, these kids are the top level and therefore play a little harder than maybe a level 2 or 3 team. There's no cost or burden to the township or its residents. There's a commitment from HYA, I believe, to keep the field grooming consistent, as they do with all the other fields they provide. So it's something that hopefully we can agree to do for frankly the kids in the community, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Bennett and I are on the Parks and Rec Committee, and so we have discussed this before. I'd like to say, like, my first thought was not a good idea, not necessary. It's difficult to maintain, but as I slept on it and thought about it and just thought about the possibility of doing a test, I think it's worth doing a test. So, like, I'm going to vote yes on this, but I'm not sure how everyone else is going to vote. There's conditions. We talked to Andrew about this. Now there's we outsource the mowing and there's mowing considerations. And I'll ask in a second, Andrew, to comment on that. But a 3-month test, I think, would reveal some interesting things. Like, I'm curious, I've walked the perimeter of where it will be. I see it does not infringe on volleyball. In fact, it could help volleyball, I think, because balls won't be rolling out onto the field. And there may be other unintended benefits as well as unintended, consequences negatively. I think just doing a 1-season test, I think I'd like to see the results. I'm curious how many home runs go over the fence. It's a pretty good distance for a 13 or 14-year-old to do, but I'm sure you have some guys that will do it.
With that, quick question, which version, I went to the link online here, it looks like there's a $4,200, there's a $2,000.
That pricing may have been based on just how long of a fence. I don't know what Jay Enoch
He's
said.
talking about 4.
42, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
4,200.
in terms of distance out from the field, did Jay commit to a distance like 265 feet down the lines, something?
Yes.
Did he?
Yeah, he did.
Around that.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it was probably 280 and then 300 to center or something like that.
Right, yeah. So it would be the more expensive option.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I do want to make the point too, when we talked to Jay, he was quite, he was supporting the idea of a test. I said, like, if you're stuck with this $4,000 fence after 3 months, is it, a tragedy? And he was comfortable with the idea of a test to see how it worked out, and, you know, he felt like he could resell the fence and it wouldn't be a real hardship to HYA, that kind of thing. If, you know, if we in August said this, you know, this was not a good idea, that kind of thing. So he supported that, which also meant a lot to me, that we wouldn't be like, well, you told us we could do it, kind of thing.
I think HYA is an awesome asset to our community. I have a daughter who has tried out a few sports thanks to HYA. So I have no problem supporting the fence. I think it's a fine idea.
So if I understand correct, HIA will bear the cost and everything and remove as needed. How is that communicated to the township when we need to move it? And, but again, it stays for up 2-3 months until township say, hey, we need.
Yeah,
certain
if there's an
activity.
event going on here, that I know the flea market's big, right? We would take it
Okay.
down for that.
Okay.
My understanding is it does take a few hours to sort of get this up and down and stored properly. So it's not something we want to do every week, but certainly in coordination
Yeah.
with the bigger events here, we would absolutely do that.
Is there like a permanent structure in the ground that it
Um,
hooks into, or?
If you actually went to the website, there are some pictures you can click
Yes.
through. There's little anchors that go into the ground, you know, sleeves.
Mm.
You wouldn't trip over those. They'd be, you know, sunk into the ground. And that's where those poles then sit down in. And then the fence has little sleeves that slot into each of those. I think they're either 6 or 10 feet wide net.
And when we're done with the fence, they can just be taken out and, oh, I see. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And if, you know, the fence gets approved for year 2, you know, I would assume we would leave those little anchors in the ground, store the fence, you know, over the winter and then put it back in the spring. But we could get to that, you know, if you want us to take those anchors out, we could see if that's possible, you know, year to year.
Okay, Andrew, would you like to comment, or?
Sure. I mean, I do think it's a great idea. I did have some concerns. A lot of those concerns have been answered, and even Mr. Bennett brought up a safety issue that hadn't crossed my mind about children colliding with each other. But I was a member of HYA. I loved it, and Big Z and I were on the same team together. It was a good year too. Yeah, my concerns were with mowing and durability, which Mr. Biggs also answered for me. The only thing I would recommend is for the ground, the posts that go in the ground, get caps for them for when they're not in use. That way we don't get sediment and grass in them.
We could definitely look into that. Yeah, absolutely.
And there was one more item about mowing. I think, Andrew, you had said that the company that does mow wanted to make sure that the area around the fence would be trimmed, like with a weed whacker or a lawnmower. Is that something you see as HYA's responsibility to do, like weekly or something
I
like
think
that?
we can do that, yes, if we need to.
Right. Any other comments from the board? All right, any from the audience? And any from Zoom? Okay. Cindy, do you think, we had conditions. I mean, would you like to have them as part of the motion, or
I
should
think
I?
that would provide clarity, yes. Now, the dates aren't accurate.
Okay. All right. So I'll state a motion here in a second. Right now, I believe there's 3 events that this would interfere with, and we would ask for the fence to come down for these 3 events and possibly others. Okay. So I'll have to piece this together on the fly here, but do I hear a motion to authorize the request of HYA to install a temporary home run fence on the ball field at Aher Park with the conditions that it's removed when necessary and weed whacked as appropriate, mowed or weed whacked around the fence? Okay, let me try that one again, because there was a lot of pieces in that. Do I hear a motion to authorize the request of HYA to install a temporary home run fence on the ball field at Aher Park with the requirement to remove the fence 3 or more times this season and mowed on a weekly basis and I would like to add for this current baseball season, and then we'll determine, not part of the motion, we will determine that in the future.
I move.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
I'm
Okay.
sorry. What, the last part of your motion was determined in the future?
Yeah,
What we determining in the
I'd like to
future?
put in the motion that, like, we're approving it for this season.
Okay,
And, I'd like to reanalyze it like next spring or just sometime in the future, like, reevaluate this in the future.
and did you want it to stay in place until the end of July, or did you want it to allow the fall?
Mr. Biggs said the end of July.
Yeah, I think, when did you want to reevaluate? I think the spring season would be great for us. That ends in July. We don't need it back up. Our fall season is September and October. I don't think we need it for that. So I guess I'm recommending this first spring season.
Okay. Yeah, and I think reevaluating it after it comes down while it's fresh in everyone's mind would be appropriate. Plus, you'll know for next year whether it's appropriate. So I know that was a rough motion.
I'll write it up, and if you have a problem, you'll have to tell me.
Okay, yeah. I think it's all there. It's just, I said it in a fragmented manner.
Again, just to be clear, we're going to reevaluate after the spring season.
Right.
If there are no issues and they want to use the fence for the fall, we would probably allow that subject to the same conditions that we had in the spring.
Yes, yeah, that certainly makes sense to me that if there's all benefits, it's good.
Thank you.
Okay. Motion by Ms. Abbott, second by Mr. Bennett. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries 5-0.
Can I ask a related question, Cindy, or do I need to wait till later?
Up to the chair.
Yes.
Andy, field grooming, in terms of dragging the infield. I know the township, I believe, has taken care of that previous seasons. Is that still the plan? Or has that changed?
I'm not sure. I haven't talked it over with my foreman yet, but I'm more than willing to continue common practices from the past. I have no intention of changing that. So if they had done it in the past, I wouldn't have a problem with them doing it again.
Okay, yeah, that's what we anticipate, because we don't have equipment here to do it. Typically, we put sheds up, but we don't have that here. So I just wanted to make sure that you would continue with that like you have previous seasons. If that changes, please let me know, and we'll have to work something out.
Okay.
Thanks, sir.
All right. Thank you. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the PSATS resolution. So there's a PSATS, the Pennsylvania State, or Pennsylvania State Township Pennsylvania State Association of Township Supervisors. I wanted to throw that S supervisors too early. We have a meeting in April, and Mr. Tran is our voting member. There was 60-some number like that, resolutions that PSAT sends to all of its members, and then we vote at the conference. So we had the opportunity to read those 60. PSAT's organization itself makes a recommendation. So this would be our opportunity to share with Mr. Tran if any of us disagree with what PSATS is suggesting in their resolutions.
I've got no issues with the resolutions.
Right. Yeah, I read through them, and PSAT seems like it does an excellent bipartisan job. It just seems they do remarkably well with drawing conclusions that seem to satisfy all of its membership. So do I hear a motion to support the PSAT's resolution list as presented.
So moved.
And a second?
Second?
Motion by Mr. Landis, second by Mr. Bennett. All those in favor, say
Aye.
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 Opposed? None. Motion carries 5-0. The next action item is the Records Destruction Resolution 2026-12, closed old project files from the 80s and 90s.
So this is a typical resolution that you do periodically to allow us to dispose of records. These happen to be files from 1980s to 1990s regarding various projects such as the Harrisburg Pike, Orrstown Road, Columbia Avenue, Centerville Road, Sylvan Road, a lot of the road works that have been done. They're not necessary to be kept according to the PA Historic Commission, and therefore can be a resolution to destroy.
All right, any comments from the board or from the audience or Zoom? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to adopt Resolution 2026-12, authorizing the destruction of old closed project files from the 1980s and 1990s?
I motion.
Okay. Okay. Motion by Mr. Tran, second by Ms. Abbott. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? None. Motion carries 5-0. The next item on the agenda is old business, and we do not have any old business at this moment. Any new business? None. Any public comment today? Yes, sir.
Public comments or open discussion?
This is public comment, so you can bring up a non-agenda item if that's what you're asking.
I don't know what that means.
Oh, go ahead.
Mike Zuber, 3299 Randy Road. I'm going to try to combine two questions into one. For weeks now, you've been pumping water out of that retaining pond behind, and it's coming out behind my house. I've been there 18 years. That water, I talked to the golf course manager. He said that it's possible you guys got a grant from the state to clean that swell that runs the length of the golf course so that it would drain properly. Because as it is now, the water that you're pumping out is going uphill under Randy Road and then comes back down eventually. That's one of the things I wanted to ask you if this is true. And if it's not, I would appreciate when you're done pumping that water out, if you would clean the culvert near my house, because it's full of leaves, full of mud, and that's it. Also, I don't know what's going on with that retention pond. It doesn't work. And what are you going to do about West Nile virus?
All right. Yeah. Thank you for the comments. Is there anything you'd like to address now, or is this something we should take offline?
No, I mean, Nisley Basin, you're aware that we had difficulty keeping it drained. It is now drained, and the engineers are looking at what they need to do to make it function correctly. Yes, there was a grant to create the basin, but there's also a grant on a separate project to look at the drainage way from the golf course that goes across the street behind the rec center to Stony. No, is it Stony Battery? No, it's not Stony Battery Road. The road behind. Was it? Is it Stony Battery? Okay, Stony Battery Road. Yeah. Okay. So there's two projects. The Nisley Road Basin is one with a grant. We are trying to get that stabilized in the bottom. Probably there will be chimneys put in to assist it in draining, and then it's going to be replugged with plantings, as it was when we first created it. And that should take care of any problems with West Nile or anything of that sort. And in terms of the culvert, we typically do that on a routine basis every year.
Yes, I know,
Yeah, so
and I appreciate
Mr.
that.
Grunbeck will take that under consideration, and I'm sure he'll be out there with his crews.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. So is there any additional follow-up you'd like, sir, or is there any additional follow-up you'd like, or it seemed like you were satisfied with those responses? All right, thank you. Any other public comment? All right, next item is the manager's report.
Not a whole lot on the report. We'll take a note that Noel Dower Park, it is completed. They had the tree planting this past weekend. It's full of little white little things, and Mr. Landis was out. I think Mr. Johnson was out. We are looking at a dedication ceremony probably within sometime in July, 14, 15, or 16. We'll get you details on that when that gets finalized. The appeal that was filed with a group of neighbors off of the Dorsia Road driveway, that application has been filed. That will be on your agenda for next meeting. So we'll have our attorney here, our court stenographer, and go through the whole process again, which is all new to everyone except Mr. Bennett and Mr. Johnson. But that whole process will start to occur. Harrisburg Pike signal upgrades, we did have the notice to proceed, so all the parts and things have been ordered. And as soon as those parts and things are in, that project will be completed. We did hold an executive session this evening between 5 and 6 p.m. That was in terms of personnel matter regarding succession planning of the township staff. And in terms of stormwater projects, we just discussed the Nistley Road basin. I did note that it has been drained, and they are actively looking at how to make that basin function, because it should not be holding water. The Harrisburg Pike Drainage Project, the engineer is putting together the bid packet to move that project forward. That is also a grant project. The neighbors have been notified that that is moving forward. The last time I reached out to them was in 2020, so it's been a while. We've been looking for grants all that time, so that notification has been taken care of. We did have a Park and Rec group meeting on the 20th with Mr. Bennett and Mr. Johnson. We talked about the temporary fencing. We talked about the dedication process for Elamhurst bench, which will be held or placed along the trail next to the house, and likely a tree planted in the wetlands to recognize his service. And that's my report, unless there's questions.
When you say in the wetlands, we'll be able to distinguish that tree from the other trees?
We wanted it to be a showy tree,
Mhm.
so it's probably a magnolia or a cherry type of tree that has a bloom which is different than the ones that are there now. Plus, it will have a plaque.
Okay, and then the bench will be next to it, or is?
The bench will be up on the path looking over the house, which I think
Oh.
is probably the most appropriate place for that. There was discussion, and maybe Andy can fill you in, with Tomlinson Baumberger regarding the trees and the appropriateness of where they would be located.
Yeah, we walked around Aher Park. I showed him, because I didn't know if we had decided where we wanted the bench. I knew we wanted it along the path facing the Aher house. But he gave me a couple of ideas in case you guys had decided there or for the wetlands. And I believe I did send it in a memo out. And yeah, and I did tell him they wanted it to be, that we all wanted it to be unique compared to the rest of the trees that are down there. I mean, I don't have them on me right now.
Yeah.
Oh, but I did send it in the memo, the magnolias and the.
Yeah, and I did see the memo. I don't mean to rehash. I just didn't know if something was finally decided, and I was asking about that, but it seems like it's still being considered.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
We determined the cost of the tree.
He is willing to donate the tree.
Awesome. Thank you.
Nice. Okay. Okay, that's it. Anything else for the good of the cause, as Mr. Wigglesworth would say, right?
Something like that.
I always liked when he said that. Anything else for the good of the cause? No? Okay, I'll adjourn at 7:07.
Gave my dad